Okay, buddy! All right, this is it. Oh my gosh, look at all this. Look at the camera. Jeez. Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. We launch into another week of the live show. We have On the Mark today, and Ben Reichley is with me. He'll be back on Friday, and we have tomorrow Joe McGranahan will be in, and Thursday Joe will be back, and on Wednesday Tham Mitchell is here. So, as a matter of fact, on Friday, Tham Mitchell's going to be in on Friday too, because I will not be here. I'll be here part of the morning, and then I got to scoot out, but we will have Tham Mitchell in on Friday also. So it'll be Tham and Ben on Friday. That's the meeting of two very different but both highly informed and very passionate political viewpoints come together on the On the Mark show. Mark Lawrence here, Brad, resident of Northumberland. Across from me, Snyder County business person, Republican committee man, Ben Reichley. Welcome aboard, sir.
Good weekend.
I had a wonderful weekend. Perfect in every way. And you?
Yeah, very good. Good weather. People got out and about, parades.
Saw some fireworks?
Yeah, a lot of fireworks. And fireworks that started about 9:15 and fireworks that started about 10:30 in the Sandsgrove area. You could hear them and see them at numerous times.
Irritating the neighbors at times. I saw for the first time a sign that said, "Be considerate with fireworks. Combat veteran lives here." Unusual sign, but of course makes perfect sense. We know the pets don't always like the fireworks, but I never thought of it other than general irritation bothering a person. So that's something to think about, I guess, in the years ahead. Probably should have been thinking about it already. Saw you briefly at the YMCA. So did you have an exercise workout situation?
Yeah, good workout there, and got to converse a little bit with probably, I will say, and this is probably one question that Kevin and Steve Jones, but Kevin can bring up. Got a chance to talk to Jeff Walters, who probably one of the best athletes, best high school athletes, and in college went on to be an All-American too, but one of the best athletes at Sugarland, for his wrestling, but just overall in this area. Very good athlete, very good guy. I think you saw his young son was in there. His son had an interesting take on the summer, asked how his summer was going, and he informed me he's getting ready for kindergarten and he's a bit nervous. So it was interesting to hear the aspects of life from a 5-year-old, and I said, well, you have a little bit of summer left. I said, probably enjoy it. I said, kindergarten will probably come easy. And his point was, probably, and I think I can make some new friends. So sometimes the lighter conversations are more intuitive and interesting than talking to adults at times.
Great. Well, yeah, Jeff's a great guy. I certainly don't use him as a fitness mentor because he's so far in the club, but every so often I'll see him when I'm plodding away on the treadmill in my little 20-minute out-of-breath segments, and he comes in and lifts up the entire machine and says, here, we're going to move this over here. So, yeah, he's a tough guy. And his lovely bride is super fit, too. So they're great advocates for fitness and intelligence and YMCA activity. And
you were on your way to Fort Augusta?
Yes, I went over to Fort Augusta Day very briefly. I just got to do the assignment and then went down to the riverfront to get some river festival measurements done. But, yeah, stopped at the Fort Augusta House and Hunter House and the Fort Augusta Day. I'll tell you what, I counted 200 just to do a thumbnail, but that place was packed. Sure. There were people left and right and to and fro, and hopefully happy vendors there. And it was a real event and fascinating history. I never knew so much about the Bloody Spring story. That's the segment that I happened to be there for. And fascinating how they would reconnoiter the woods on a regular basis.
Well, and to the folks who got involved and restored Fort Augusta, and not only just physically, but then also the history of it, noting it, presenting it, so that can for generations to come. But that was a very, very positive endeavor, and hats off for the people who were involved in that. And a lot of people, not only out in front but behind the scenes, made that happen. And what a very historic area of our country, if you look back at the history of it, and why it was there, and then what the fort did for ongoing. And it's right here in Sunbury.
Right, yeah, it's fantastic. It was very interesting, and I saw the coloring book. It's still for sale, $5, and about a dozen different artists did the artwork in it. Of course, it's line drawings for a coloring book, but some shading, and it's a fantastic book, very historical. So I got a copy of that, so I'll be handing that out to school-age friends around here. You are listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK. It is time for the On the Mark. It is an Open Phones Monday. Ben Reichley is here. We'll have some guests on this program as the week progresses as well. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. That is the two places where you can find out about all the used and new automobiles. They have Ford, Hyundai, Kia, Lincoln cars and trucks. They're a premier service provider for all makes of cars and trucks and all sizes of trucks. My Blue Raptor is back there. They sold one. Now they have another one down there. So
I'm sure they'll get you whatever car you want.
I know. It is a beautiful truck. And they are a master towing service as well with decades of damage-free experience. And please check out sunburymotors.com. They got something for you. The webcam is up and running. It has ultra crystal clear sound, and the control that's over on this side is way low, much lower than the 9 o'clock range that Kevin is talking about. And we are inviting everyone to check out the webcam. You can see it in here. Kevin's going to be inserting some brief messages when you would be listening to commercials on a regular basis, but check that out at WKOK.com. The webcam is up and running. Grunninger Insurance Agency is located at Front and Duke Streets in Northumberland. They sponsor our toll-free line, which is 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. They're open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday, 9 to 4:30, and Saturday by appointment. What can they do for you? Well, one of the things is they ask a question, do you know if your insurance is at the right price? And they answer it by giving you a second opinion. If you're not already a Grunninger customer, no matter where you do go, bring just a few verbal details with you about your existing insurance, and they'll let you know if they can save you a buck. And believe it or don't, there are some cases when they might not. They'll tell you, hey, stay pat with your person unless you become dissatisfied. But if you want to pay a little less, they got Progressive, they got Erie, and a wide range of other companies that can have insurance. GrunningerInsurance.com is their main website, and they sponsor a toll-free line. Lenape Solar email in basket is open. You simply email on the market at KOK.com. We'll read your email on the radio. Lenape's at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury. Find them on the web at LenapeSolar.com. They'd love to hook you up with HVAC systems that are less, meaning you can get a perfect cooling and heating provided through a low-cost, energy-efficient heat pump system. And you don't need to run ducts up and down the basements and through the walls and everywhere else. It's done with a small pipe size, almost the size of a garden hose, that goes through the wall, and that connects the power. It takes care of everything to make that device work well, and they would just love to hook you up with ductless HVAC systems at LenapeSolar.com. Ultra-efficient and ultra-smart for the modern home, even if it's an old home. 570-286-1496. That's 570-286-1496, or LenapeSolar.com is their main website. Let's see, going on in the news, we continue to debate a big immigration issue that seems to be heating up. We'll have U.S. Congressman Lou Barletta in studio in the weeks ahead, so look forward to that. We also had in the news on Friday a senior judge, David Grine, issued his formal opinion about the lowering of the row office salaries, and that prompted some response. So there is a Vinnie Clausey and Stephen Bridie's effort to save money by lowering row office salaries has been rebuffed thus far, though there certainly are higher courts for them to go to if they wish to appeal it from there. And let's see, Governor Corbett's still not sitting on, but waiting on the budget. He says he's doing two things. One, considering a veto, and two, striking out various line items that he would find objectionable. So he would probably strike out the part where DEP takes good care of drillers and get rid of those enforcement efforts so that they can do whatever they want. But no, okay. It's just I'm just speculating.
Yeah,
he'd probably leave DEP because he doesn't want to reduce any jobs.
Well,
but
if it's drilling and if it's Corbett, we can only guess what side you're on. But I think it's the pension issue, and if they don't address the pension issue, start addressing it, it's going to bury school districts. It is just. I mean, we talked about it 2 years ago. It's a tsunami, just ready to happen. And defined pensions, defined public pensions. I mean, it's just going to bury. We talk about school districts, but the cost of government. People want to say large or small size government. I always look at what's efficient size government and what's efficient government. But the cost of government is becoming unbearable in a number of different ways. But this pension crisis is happening, and it's not just happening here in Pennsylvania. It's happening in other states also.
If folks don't recall, my general recollection is that the Harrisburg didn't pay in as they should have because the Wall Street was booming at the time, and they felt as though the investments were growing sufficiently on their own. So Wall Street not kicking in, Harrisburg not kicking in, but that's not the entire story. You had talked a little bit about this.
Well, the school districts, the state, I mean, everybody can point fingers at each other, but the program itself is unsustainable. I mean,
just because of the volume of
the volume of it that's going to happen. And this is state workers. This isn't teachers. This isn't just teachers. The program. I mean, it's people who worked at PennDOT, and people say, well, they've gotten. That was promised to them. Well, you have a lot of things promised to you in life, and sometimes they don't work out. I've been promised things, and it doesn't work. I'm sure you have too. But the cost of it is going to be insurmountable if you look at the numbers. I mean, just here's how the numbers look at, and these are just school districts. We're not picking on schools, but Westchester County, Westchester School District, Chester County. So it's 2009-2010. Salaries were $89 million. Their pension was $4.2 million.
So they had to kick in that much in order to fund the pension system?
That was their pensions that they had to fund. Now this is 09-010. Now let's come to 13-14. Their salaries are $85.6 million. So their salaries are down roughly there. But their pension was 14.5. So it went from 4.2 to 14.5. That's what they budgeted to take care of their pensions. So it's just becoming, I say a tsunami. I'm not trying to make light of it, but it is going to take on. If you talk to business managers at school districts, you look at the pension crisis is not just at schools in the state, and it's not the sky's falling, Chicken Little type deal. This is real numbers that are coming up, and how we're going to deal with it. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take some understanding, and it's going to take some brass tacks. I mean, they got to get down to brass tacks and get it taken care of, because it's going to affect all of us in a number of ways.
Well, and Chad Kors said it was unsustainable, so that's the unsustainable aspect of it, the fact that really half the district's revenue that they raise in the community will go through pensions for retirees.
And Mark, look at the tax base. Look at tax base situation. And we talk about your school tax or your county tax, but just look at the shrinking tax base. Look at properties that aren't taxed. Look at the nonprofits. Look at the situations we're getting into. So you're talking about huge increases in funding needed, and you're also talking about shrinking tax base, a revenue that is diminishing instead of increasing. So it's something that really has to be looked at. Is there one single answer? Probably not. It's probably going to take two or three, and it's going to take some sacrifice from some folks, and maybe some folks that were promised something, or maybe they're not going to get it. And really, where it should start is it should start with the legislators. the House and the Senate and the people should step up and say, okay, we're going to change our pensions, and from there down, we're going to make adjustments.
For existing workers.
Well, I think for existing workers, there needs to be something looked at, and we have some callers come in. I think Cindy makes an example of that. It's the state. It's not taxed. Your state pension is not taxed. So should there be a nominal tax on that?
So is the pension is drawn out before tax, right? So you're not paying state tax on it initially.
But and you're not paying on it when you get it.
Okay, well, geez, what's tax for that? That hardly seems right. She's right.
Well, to a degree, people say, "Oh, you don't want taxes." Hey, we all got to pay taxes. We should pay minimum, and our tax dollars, you hope, are used to the max. But usually, that can be a discussion, and people, where you want your tax money to go and where I think my tax money should go are a discussion to be had. But when you're looking at this pension situation, it's all hands on deck, and everybody probably is going to have to make some sacrifices to get this under control.
We're talking about the pension crisis. You're welcome to join the conversation. Really, it's an issue that we think of school spending as growing, but really school spending is relatively the same. It is, in fact, the pensions that are causing and these are for individuals who are already retired. Of course, you can renegotiate all you want for new aspects of this, but the existing retirees, the ones who have already retired, is what's driving up this cost. We'd love your viewpoint on this, or we would love your viewpoint on this. 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. You're welcome to join us, and we're talking about pensions in Pennsylvania and the $60 billion question. How will we swallow this big lump of pension fees that are going to be due in the years ahead? School districts are just raising taxes as much as they can, reducing staff in some cases. Some are putting off building programs. Not Lewisburg. They're proceeding, but they were well prepared to do their building program because of past decisions. 1-800-795-9565. Solving the pension crisis. 1-800-795-9565 is the open line.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Welcome back. WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. I am Mark Lawrence. Ben Reichley is here. We forgot to mention the most important person in the world to make this show go. And that's Joe McGranahan. He'll be in tomorrow. But Kevin Hers on the other side of the glass. He is our engineer, greatest engineer the world has ever known. In fact, he's the greatest engineer in the universe. Had won so many awards that they had to be jettisoned into space. And some, until the wells filled up, he was pumping them into a deep well in Ohio to make them go away. But he is on the other side of the glass. He was at the IndyCar race yesterday, so he got to see Juan Pablo Montoya. I'm blending
when I knew him the first time, he was just Juan Montoya, but then he threw the Pablo in the middle of it.
Hold it. You're very important if you have three names or one name.
Oh, either way. Okay, yeah, like either Madonna or Juan Pablo Montoya. Won the race yesterday. Kevin was yelling so loud we heard him in Northumberland telling him to go fast. So they had a good race up there, I suppose. And hopefully...
Oh, it's great. The restart went 4 wide right in front of us, and then 5 wide just down below where we were.
Were you wearing earplugs?
We were listening to the radio broadcast. We were also listening to the in-car radios.
Okay, so you had ear protection.
Yeah.
In the form of a headset that blocks sound and adds sound too, in the form of the radio broadcast. Okay, so what was the attendance at the track? They're thinking about getting rid of the Indy because you're the only one going.
I hadn't heard the official word. I mean, I would say the best guess would be probably, around 30,000. It was not full, but I thought it looked comparable to last year. I think there were late ticket sales, but like I said, I didn't hear an official attendance.
Okay, so yeah, there's 30,000 isn't going to be enough to bring international drivers here, but they seem to like it. They ran a fast race, accident-free.
It was caution-free for like about 60 laps of the 200.
See,
one caution the entire race.
That's the repaving of the track that allows that to happen. And I saw a pre-race interview where they were saying the windy conditions of the day were going to be a big factor, that the breezes, if they're inconsistent, can make it very difficult to drive those cars. They're basically airplanes that drive on the ground.
That's a very good description,
and that they were going to have some dilemmas with that. But I guess the winds calmed down or died down sufficiently so that they had a good race without too much issue from that. Pocono is got another NASCAR race coming up this month, too.
Next month, actually, beginning of August.
Oh, is it August?
But yeah, they had 2:02 was the official race time, or the official race speed. 202 miles an hour was the race average. Third fastest in history, and the fastest 500-mile race ever run in IndyCar.
202, the average.
That's the average.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That means at some point they're going 250.
Well, the max speed I saw yesterday was 224.
Oh, okay.
But
so they went 224 for a long, long time.
Oh, well, you're wide open. I mean, they're running. The qualifying was 223. That was a track record that broke last year's track record by about a full mile an hour or two. And then, like I said, running wide open, you could average, 220 around the racetrack without having any trouble.
Okay. Well, I find all this fascinating, but of course this isn't the appropriate place to discuss it. And of course on the show where there is the appropriate place to discuss it, Steve isn't going to want to today. So
actually, we do have something that I will get a chance to promote. We have Carmen DiFrancesco coming up in the about 3:35 to talk a little bit more. We're hoping to get a couple of more folks along as well. Trying to catch up with him this weekend to talk more about Jazz Diminick and his passing. They have a memorial service set for today at 4 o'clock at the Mount Carmel High School auditorium, I believe.
The
auditorium.
Should be pretty well attended, too.
Yeah, super guy. I'll tell you what, I have about every other fall, Kevin would say, why don't you interview all these great coaches around here? So I would hook it up, and sometimes Kevin would sit in, sometimes not. But we get to interview some of these great football coaches around here. And, Dick Purnell and Dick Hort and Jazz Diminick, and who else is at those good panels?
Pontius, we had him on a couple of times.
Ray Pontius. So, and just you'd be surprised how inspirational. And you'd think football's changed so much, padding has changed, fields have changed. It's just this, they still talk about the same thing, getting each player in as good a shape as they can be and just play your heart out.
Well, I would say, and I'd put Bill Scott from Selinsgrove, who's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely.
With those other gentlemen too, I think most of them. But I would think most, you call them coaches, but most of them are really teachers, and their occupation was teachers. But Jazz Diminick is one, really did more than just coach. He really shaped a lot of lives, and I think Carmen's interview, Kevin, should be very interesting because Carmen played, and then coached with Jazz Diminick, and then as a head coach, Jazz Diminick was an assistant to Carmen, and I believe at Danville and somewhere else. So interesting roles on all sides there. But you talk male or female. You talk about athletes who've been influenced by their coaches, and also teachers. So not just coaches, but teachers. And most of the coaches I've been around were just excellent motivators and teachers.
We talked about it on Thursday on the show. Carm played under Jazz Diminick in Jazz's earlier years coaching. Jazz started in '62. He played in the late '60s, early '70s. They went 44-1 in Carmi's high school career.
Well,
the one loss was to Shikellamy.
I believe the backfield, I know there's some different people, but at one time there was Diminick.
That was the '69 team, I think.
DeFrancisco. Well, Carmen was there, but also there was a guy named Hynoski.
Yes.
Henry Hynoski Sr. was there, and Henry went on to play at Temple, and then also for the Cleveland Browns, and of course Henry Jr., Southern Columbia, Pitt, and now the New York Giants. But they had a plethora of talent rolling through the Mount Carmel football teams over the years.
When Henry Jr. is going to be doing a private event in Lewisburg this week, and it happens when Kevin is at work, so you can't go. But we'll have we've been invited to sit in the back row. We'll talk more about that later this week. But he's really just talking fitness for everybody.
Yeah, it's a private workout with some junior high, well, I guess middle school, junior high youths. From the area, and it should be very interesting. I'll be attending, and it's a nice event for Henry to get the chance, and he's done this a number of times around the area, but should be very interesting. But yeah, Kevin, that interview with Carmen should really open some eyes, and hopefully, or when I say that, to what Mount Carmel. And I'm sure he's going to talk about what Jazz meant, not just to Mount Carmel football, but to the players he coached.
We are up to almost 9 a.m. again, which means we're going to have to take a quick break for the CBS News, but we want to remind you the webcam is up and running. Kevin has tweaked it beyond tweakification, so it should be working well, and the webcam is up and running, so check it out at WKOK.com. On the Mark brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company. Please do go to sunburymotors.com, click on the Contact Us lane, and say, hey, Mark Lawrence told me to check this out. What do you got for me? I'm going to need a new vehicle. sunburymotors.com. GroningerInsurance.com is the place to go to click on Contact Us if you'd like to know if your insurance is being sold at the right price, and if it isn't, they'll hook you up with whatever you need to know at GroningerInsurance.com and LenapeSolar.com if you want a solar installation at your home, create some electricity or heat. You got a commercial establishment, you want to make sure your lighting is no longer the tungsten variety. If you're using tungsten, you're paying too much. And ductless HVAC, they can get you hooked up there as well. LenapeSolar.com is a great place to start, and then click on Contact Us. Please contact us during the 9 o'clock hour. We'll have an open phone session of On the Mark on News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury.
CBS News, I'm Peter King. Israel says airstrikes have hit at least 14 Hamas terror sites, including hidden rocket launchers this morning. Hamas says at least 9 people have died, and there are new details about 6 men arrested for killing a 17-year-old Palestinian. CBS's Robert Berger.
3 of the Jewish suspects have reconstructed the murder of the Palestinian teenager for police after confessing to the crime. Police say they took the suspects to a Jerusalem forest where the charred body was dumped, and they gave a detailed account of what happened.
The murder is believed to be revenge for the kidnapping and murders of 3 Israeli teens. In his strongest words yet, Pope Francis says sex abuse by Roman Catholic priests was, quote, camouflaged with a complicity and begged forgiveness. Vatican spokesman Father Federico Lombardi says those words came in a meeting with 6 victims this morning.
If you see the person that come out of this meeting with the Pope, you understand that it was not a public relation event.
An earthquake in Central America has killed at least 2 firefighters in Guatemala. It's been strongly felt in Mexico as well. The U.S. Geological Survey says the magnitude 7.1 quake happened just over an hour and a half ago. The Obama administration is about to announce a new plan that would attract quality teachers to schools that need them the most. CBS News White House correspondent Peter Mayer joins us live. Peter, how do they hope to do that?
Well, the Education Department wants states to submit what amounts to a lesson plan to attract the best teachers to high-need schools. The administration points to research showing students' race and family incomes often predict whether they have highly qualified teachers. President Obama and Education Secretary Duncan will discuss the Excellent Educators for All initiative with teachers today here at the White House. Duncan says it's needed to end what he describes as inequities that shortchange many students.
Former Georgian President Eduard Shevardnadze has died after a long illness. Former CBS News Moscow correspondent Jonathan Sanders.
Shevardnadze changed history by helping peacefully dismantle the regime of the Iron Curtain, allowing East Europe to go towards the West to abandon communism in a bloodless fashion.
Shevardnadze was 86. Well, if you talk to your plants, a new report says they may actually respond to sounds. CBS's Heather Bosch joins us live. And Heather, how does that work?
Plants have a natural defense system. If they get munched on by caterpillars, they'll boost the toxin in their leaves. When University of Missouri researchers mimicked the specific sound of a chewing caterpillar, that noise alone triggered the plant's defense systems. It's not clear exactly how, but scientists think plants can discern sound through tiny vibrations of their leaves. In future, this could lead to a non-pesticide way to protect crops. Peter?
CBS's Heather Bosch looking ahead to the day on Wall Street. S&P futures down 5. This is CBS News.
Geico presents Fan Mail to a Pig.
Dear Maxwell, I just want to say thank you for making my Geico Insurance ID card digital. It's easy to find on the app. It doesn't give me paper cuts, and I always have it on hand because it's on my phone. Because of this, I finally cleaned out my glove box, which was filled with years of paper ID cards. Any thought on what I should put in my glove box now? Sincerely, Trent Patterson. Trent, what can you put in the glove box? Here's a crazy thought. How about gloves?
Digital insurance ID cards, just a tap away on the Geico app.
With thousands of brand new items, Staples now has more of the things you need every day.
Like what?
Like cleaning supplies for the break room.
Good thing. That fridge sort of smells like a wet dog.
And drinks and snacks, like Gatorade and Snickers bars.
So I can replace electrolytes while I cheat on my diet?
And retail supplies, like cash registers, shopping bags, and signs. Even hospital scrubs and disposable gloves.
I look like a hot surgeon in those.
With thousands of new products, your local Staples now has more than you'd ever expect. Staples, make more happen.
The latest round of Donald Sterling's fight for the L.A. Clippers gets underway today with a hearing in probate court. CBS's Steve Futterman has more from Los Angeles.
80-year-old Donald Sterling claims he was improperly removed as a co-trustee of the Sterling Family Trust. The removal took place after 2 doctors ruled he was mentally incompetent. Once Sterling was out, his wife Shelley became the sole trustee. She then sold the Clippers for $2 billion. The
NBA banned Sterling for life and forced him to sell the Clippers after he privately made racist comments, which were taped and then made public. Well, it's been 20 months since Washington State voted to legalize marijuana for adults 21 and older. This morning, Washington State has issued its first retail marijuana license after a middle-of-the-night email telling bleary-eyed pot shop proprietors that they'll finally be able to open for business. One says he's pretty stoked and ready to go. I'm Peter King, CBS News.
You've been thinking about moving over to solar power for your home. So are a lot of other people, which is why some power companies are pushing for extra fees to make up the difference. Is it finally happening? Is solar power actually becoming a threat to the old power conglomerates? Don't fund Big Power's losses while everybody else goes solar. Get caught in the middle or go with a trusted local solar company and actually own it and reduce your energy bill with no down payment, interest, or payments for a whole year. Get tax breaks and big monthly energy savings. Avoid falling behind and paying extra. Don't be the last one in line. Our nation's power supplies are shifting. Wait too long and you may wind up paying for it. Want to completely eliminate your power bill? Get all the tax incentives you're entitled to while you still can. And do it locally because local is accountable and we finance. Call 1-800-MY-SOLAR for a free in-home assessment. 1-800-MY-SOLAR.
My home, my savings. 1-800-MY-SOLAR.
News Radio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Ben Reichley.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live telephone talk show. It is entitled On the Mark. I am Mark Lawrence, host of the show. Very, very, very glad to see you on the other side of the microphone. Thank you for joining us. We're glad you are here. We're here each weekday morning. Next week I'll be on a vacation, but Joe McGranahan will be hosting each and every weekday. Ben will be in on Monday and Friday. Than will be on Wednesday and Friday. And, Than will be in this Friday, and then he'll be in on Wednesday next week. So, and Kevin Herr is always the engineer, and we're just looking forward to some good opportunities. We're talking schools this morning. We were just talking coaching and football, and you'll hear more about this afternoon when Jazz Diminick is on the show today, talking about, of course, we've been talking about the passing of a great coach around here, so we'll have more words about that.
Yeah, we'll have Carmen DiFrancesco coming up this afternoon talking about Jazz Diminick.
Yeah, talking about Jazz. Jazz won't be on the show. We do have excerpts of a roundtable. One of the roundtables was recorded with him, and that was with Mr. Boyer down at the Daily Item. It recorded in the Daily Item offices, as I recall. So Dick Purnell was there, and Dave Six, and Dick Hort, and Ray Padios, and Jazz Diminick, and Phil Lockoff, all at the same table. And boy, there was a lot of wisdom there, and some gentle ribbing too, so we got it all. All right, so we will have excerpts of that as this week progresses. Our webcam is up and running. Kevin has perfected it. I don't know what he did, but it bumped up the viewership to 3 billion. So please join the long list of people who are checking out the webcam. The audio is perfect. The visuals are clear. The lighting is exquisite, and Kevin is making it work perfectly. The webcam you can watch on The Mark Show. It's also a 24-hour archive. Just click on the TV and you see that, and then you can go to our YouTube channel and you can watch the archives from the past few weeks. Kevin makes sure all of that stuff happens so you can watch On the Mark.
And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel,
which is free.
Yep, which absolutely is free. You'll actually get an email anytime a new video is posted, and you can go ahead and check it out.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. Lenape Solar email in basket is open, so if you'd like to send us a note, 2 people have done so. We invite you to join them. Simply email onthemark@WKOK.com. Both relate to school districts. We're talking about the unsustainability of the pensions around here, so we will continue that conversation. But email on the Mark, and it plops into the Lenape Solar email in basket. Lenape's at 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. One of the things that they can do there, even though they're selling solar panels for your house, they have a showroom set up so they can show you what they'll look like. So you can see some of the various displays. You can see the HVAC systems that they're also making sure that you have an ultra-efficient opportunity. And they can help you harness the power of the sun for a brighter tomorrow at Lenape Solar. Groninger Insurance Agency is located at Front and Duke Streets, Northumberland. They're open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5, Friday, 9 to 4:30, and Saturday by appointment. Groninger sponsors the toll-free line, 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. Full-service agency, meeting all of your insurance needs. Recently purchasing the Shamrock Insurance Agency. Now the Groninger boys have Progressive Insurance and some other good deals to pass along. John, Jim, Paul, and Mel would love to help you out. GroningerInsurance.com. And the Sunbury Motor Company is our umbrella sponsor. They have got just so many vehicles already ready to go, and they have got so many vehicles that were pre-used and have been cleaned up and checked out and are just perfect vehicles. You can save $1 if you buy a pre-owned automobile, and they have a great display. If you see it on the Sunbury Motors lot, you know it's a good deal because they only keep the best. The rest they shuffle off to all those used car dealers you see around here. They would love to help you out. They invite you to visit the Quick Lane as well on North 4th Street in Sunbury. Use that opportunity to get your vehicle fixed up and at the same time go out on the lot and check out some of the vehicles they have at Sunbury Motors. SunburyMotors.com is their main website. News headlines. Northumberland County Commissioner Rick Schock has responded following a senior judge's opinion about the dramatic row office salary cuts. Schock says the senior judge David Grine's opinion is the only logical result the judge could have come to. The point he hopes to impress, Schock does, is that how impartial judge from outside Northumberland County sees the Clousey-Bridey administration. Judge Grine called the proposed salary reductions to row offices startling and said the increased cost of health insurance caused serious harm to the office holders affected. We do have a call in to Commissioners Vinnie Clousey and Stephen Bridey. No response yet. Bridey's quoted in the Daily Item calling the senior judge a leech. So we have invited Mr. Bridey to contact us. Hopefully he'll do so this week, and we'll hear more words from him. Governor Tom Corbett says he's thinking about it. He has not yet decided, though, what he'll do with the no new taxes budget that's on his desk. He planned on signing it initially, but says now he may use his full 10 days to sign it, veto it, or line out objectionable spending items. He's waiting out, holding out hope for a pension plan, but the House and Senate are not working on one, so he says it's very unlikely that he'll get his pension plan for future, not for existing retirees or those who are currently working, but for the future. He's holding out, though. Says he's waiting for that. Hey, and let's see. Sure, any newlywed husband can do the traditional carry your bride over the threshold deal. That's just a few feet. But it takes a real couple to win the annual wife-carrying competition in Finland. In the quirky competition, men race to be the fastest while carrying a female teammate. A Finnish couple won the latest installment of the race, navigating the 278-yard obstacle course in nearly 64 seconds. That was less than a second ahead of the British couple that was runner-up this year. 36 couples took part in this year's race, hailing, or should we say hauling, from a dozen countries, including Australia, Japan, and the United States. The rules say the woman being toted must be over 17 and weigh at least 108 pounds. But despite the name of the race, the couples no longer have to be married in order to take part in the wife-carrying events. I wonder if same-sex couples could participate in that. You can come up with it. Does say you have to be the opposite sex for this particular one, but I don't know. I could definitely carry my wife. Like, she's maybe 110 pounds, I think, something in that range. So I know I can pick her up because I already have. So. Well, and that's all we'll say about that.
Must be an interesting contest.
Well, yeah, if you... the funny thing is you get to the starting line and you can't pick up your life, it just took a turn for the worst. Okay.
But are you allowed to pick up other people's wives?
While you're there. The night before at the bar, maybe, but that's about it. You leave the other wives alone.
Or can the wives pick up other husbands?
Well, there is a husband-carrying contest, too, that's part of this. I'm surprised they don't mention that. Yes.
Those crazy Finns.
Yeah, they... and the women do it not the same way. The men pick up the wives typically and then carry them up on their shoulders, but... women carry the men on their backs. They get back to back and lock arms, and then the woman bends over and can pick up the guy. Usually, I mean, that's the most common way. I guess if you could just pick your husband up outright. I don't believe my bride could pick me up in front of her, but I think she could probably hoist me up onto her back.
Is it most women would say they've been carrying men on their backs for decades?
Yeah, that's right. She's been carrying me for a long time. So, yeah, that is definitely true. All right, so the wife carrying contest. We'll have to try that at River Festival in the years ahead, get the wife carrying contest going. We talked about it, so we'll have to actually do it this time. 1-800-795-9565. We're talking about a dead serious topic, and that is schools. Really, schools unsustainable in terms of finances. Strangely enough, in terms of academics, if we could just surround it with salaries and pensions and outlays of affordability, we're not too far from where we need to be in terms of academics and athletics. The trouble is affording the staff which is already retired, and affording the current staff is the real challenge. That's why Chad Coors sat in the seat that Ben is in and said that it's really unsustainable. Something's got to give in the years ahead. There just won't be enough taxpayer money available in the community in the months ahead. What should be done about our unsustainable school districts? Call us now and tell us. 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. We'll explore this still further next week. We've invited Superintendent of the Lewisburg Schools, Dr. Mark DeRocco, to come and visit us. And on Wednesday, Amy Morton is coming in. Next Wednesday, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. I'm going to say the 16th just because I'm bad at dates, but I think that's what it is. She'll be in. She's the Director of Curriculum for the CSIU, talking about primarily academics, but she certainly knows a lot about the finances of school districts, too. So that'll be next Wednesday. 1-800-795-9565. Than sends us a note on the unsustainability and offers a suggestion. He says, when contracts are involved, legally binding, how can we change the past? Promises can be broken. Contracts are a little tougher and more expensive to break. Perhaps getting the R's and the D's to work together might be a start. I don't think that panic helps the problem, so I doubt that it's the end of the world or the sky is falling makes anything better. I have faith in the people of this country to work out our problems with common sense expert input and cooperation. Don't give up, and we can do it, says Than. So thank you for that.
Well, I think making it a priority and pointing out what's going to happen, and again, look at a school district, and here's an example. Look at a school district that in 2011 and 12, their salaries are almost $86 million. Their pension is $7.3 million. Then look at the next year, their salaries go down about $1 million from 85.9 to 84.9, but their pension liability goes from 7.3 to 10.3.
So this is what they have to pay into the pension fund.
So how can, and this isn't just schools, this is the state also. Look at the state workers' pensions and look what's going on, and you're seeing differences between defined pensions and market-based pensions. Market-based being more 401k, Roth IRA. You pay into a system that has flexibility from how you want to invest that. And also different than the defined pension. If you have a defined pension where you're negotiating, Mark, and you say, okay, we will pay you 8% or this formula, and it's defined. Well, depending on what happens economically, which what we're seeing now, and how, let's see, positive it is for the retirement person. I mean, in retirement, that person's going to be pretty well, a very good deal. How are you going to sustain that? And here's what we're seeing. So, people say contracts and things of the past, but there's going to have to be some adjustments. And is it going to be all on the folks that are coming into the system, the state workers that are being hired now, or is it going to be some sacrifice that people are in it? And personally, I would hope that the legislators would sit down and say, okay, we're all going to make sacrifices, and it's going to start with us, and it's going to go down from there.
So accept lesser pensions themselves?
Yeah, adjustment in their pensions.
Or like Fred Keller doesn't take a pension.
Well, I mean, there's personal situations where people can make that, but look at the dollars in education that are being spent. Go back to school districts. How much is going directly to the student compared to others? I mean, when you take the pie chart out, it's becoming less and less because of the overhead of the expenses that have been taken on by certain school districts, those being, the debt services. We've talked about it 2 years ago, that it's coming, and I think when we talk about the budget not being signed, the governor seems to be saying, hey, we have to address this pension issue. It looks like it won't be addressed until the fall session, unfortunately, or I don't know the details of what he might be negotiating with people, but if they don't, and it's a political football, or let's say a hot potato. People are going to want to throw it this way, that way. Nobody was going to want to touch it. Because most of the people down there are looking to get reelected. How can I get reelected? And I think we see that in Washington as much. The people who want to go make a difference are creating waves in the pool of politics, and sometimes the people want to stay, keep the waves down and let's get reelected. So what results are coming out of our political system that's moving the country forward?
1-800-795-9565. On that topic, one of our listeners, Melissa, who is one of the single smartest women in all of the planet, says, when did the Republican Party figure out that they could govern by crisis? All across the country, Republican governors and legislatures are using these crises to impose their will on the people. Look at Michigan. The state is now using an emergency manager to run 6 cities and 3 school districts. It's probably just a coincidence that these are minority communities which have been taken over by the Republican governor. The total elected officials, the local elected officials now have no power. They report to the appointed emergency manager. Is this Corbett's plan, if he gets reelected, declare a fiscal emergency in the school districts or in minority cities, remove local rule, appoint an emergency manager, void all contract, cut off municipal services like water and trash? It's working in Michigan, where the United Nations has called the Republican governor's practice of shutting off water to poor people, quote, a violation of the human right to water and other international human rights?
No, I would say the emailer needs to look at more detail on what's going on. And it's not, the crisis happened before there was a Republican governor in Michigan, and the crisis happened in Detroit with a very liberal, progressive management style of politics, and you see what's happened there. So no, it's not Republicans by crisis, it's by need, particularly in Michigan, and the emailer should look at more of the details of what's going on. And in Detroit, in looking at what's happened in Detroit, people were not paying their water bills. And what was interesting for a large number is when the water got shut off, all of a sudden they got paid. But you're talking about government and management that has just been absent in a lot of these communities, and unfortunately they are minority communities, but that's not a Republican issue. The underlying current here, and you'll see it particularly on some of the left-leaning and left-sided, the MSNBCs and those groups, is to paint Republicans as racist as many times as they can, and this email sort of gets to that point also. There are communities that are basically falling apart, and they've been mismanaged for not years, decades and decades. And Michigan is one of them, Detroit is one of them, and it's a sad state of affairs to look at what's happened in Detroit. But look at their politics and look at how they were managed, and then you'll see the problem. And the United Nations, probably not understanding the situation in Detroit, but it's interesting though, when people's water was turned off, people then paid, and this has been ongoing for years. And Detroit now is trying to come back and trying to get its feet on the ground, and part of it is trying to get revenue. Water, sewer, those things are what people get charged for using. And if you choose to live in a place, you usually pay those. If you don't pay it, you're usually not going to get those services. So it's not a humanitarian scenario. Now, are there people who are poor and can't pay it? Well, then there are programs, and there's a number of government programs that would subsidize somebody's water.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. We're talking about the Detroit practice of shutting off water to vast numbers of residents. This came up recently in the Lutheran Church Synod, where I was at the Synod Assembly a couple of weeks ago. This topic came up. In part, the connection was that our youth group will be meeting in Detroit next summer, or the whole National Youth Convention for the ELCA will be in Detroit, and by that time some of this will have played out, but they were very much talking about in advance the fact that water is seen as a right for people to have, but at the same time, of course, it's a municipal service, and most municipal services need to be paid for. 1-800-795-9565. We're talking public pensions, schools, and public service, and public services like water and sewer. One of our listeners on the subject of the pension facts sets me straight, says, get your facts straight, Jack. Federal tax isn't paid on pensions when it goes in, but you do pay federal tax on pensions when it is withdrawn. All state and local taxes are paid when the pension is put in. You do not draw on a state tax when the pension is withdrawn.
Yeah, I think that, didn't we say?
I did not realize that. No, I indicated and thought at the time that it was a tax-deductible process for the like a teacher to pay in, or a public service employee to pay in. It's taken before tax. And our listener, that's the main correction here, is when I said it was pre-tax money, they're saying no, you pay state and local taxes when it is put in. And I am the Jack in this case. Get your facts straight, Jack. So,
but one thing about that, it is confusing. But how do governments manipulate? And there are certain states that have very advantageous tax scenarios for retirement folks, and they move there. And Florida is one of them, with no state tax per se. So you see the advantages of not only businesses in places like Texas, but also for people in their personal lives, particularly in retirement, where they move to places. An example: take an athlete. If you're an athlete and you live in Florida, particularly pro, football, basketball, baseball, golf. A lot of golfers live in Florida, well, because their state tax is nil. So there's different states that have taxes that again are advantageous, and certain states that aren't as advantageous.
Sure. 1-800. Whoops, I'm sorry. Was there one more word on that sentence? Oh, 1-800-795-9565 is the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. Please give us a buzz. Utilize that phone number, 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar email in basket open. You simply email on the mark at WKOK.com. Another email has a rove there, and it talks about pensions, so we'll read that out loud when we return. Our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Hello, this is Justin Charles from Lenape Solar. Did you know that through energy savings of almost $5 million per year, our customers are saving the environment the equivalent of over 98 million miles of driving and eliminating the annual carbon dioxide emissions of over 5,600 homes each year? Do you want to know how to be a part of these amazing numbers? Call us at 286-1496 or visit us online at Facebook or LenapeSolar.com today and find out more about our exclusive Buy American partners for solar energy and energy-efficient lighting upgrades.
Appliances don't always keep humming along. Sometimes the washer won't spin, or the dishwasher stops mid-cycle. What do you do? Visit APW Sunbury. They carry all kinds of parts from small to large for every name and type of appliance. If you don't see it in stock, Jerry will gladly order it for you. Save money and fix it yourself with APW in the Peters Appliance Building on Market Street, Sunbury. Show those appliances who's boss, because you're always covered with parts from APW.
If there were an 83% chance of rain, you'd probably grab an umbrella. So if there was an 83% chance you'd have a problem with one of your vehicle's tires, what would you do?
Let the experts at your Ford dealer inspect your tires. You'll get up to $130 in mail-in rebates on select tires when you use the Ford Service credit card. Subject to credit approval. Rebate by prepaid debit card. Other tire manufacturer rebate or offer cannot be combined with Ford Service credit card rebate or offer. Data from Rubber Manufacturers Association. See your participating Ford dealer for details through 8/31/14.
Napa know-how! When your battery goes out on you, it's like a sucker punch to the gut. But now at Napa, when you buy a new battery, alternator, or starter, you get a Visa rebate card by mail for up to $25. And a Visa rebate card for up to $25 with a new battery? Well, that's like a sucker punch to the gut, but from a really pretty girl. Conquer the job with Napa Know-How. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Offer expires 7/31/14.
Welcome back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It's entitled On the Mark. It is the 7th day of July, 4th of July now behind us. Summer approaching the sort of the halfway point, if you consider mid-July, halfway between Labor Day and Memorial Day.
It is the halfway point of the meteorological summer, though, isn't it, Mark?
Something like that.
Because that starts like June 1st.
Right. Well, that would be 21st, I guess. But the meteor. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know.
Are you talking about June 21st, the solstice?
No, that's the solstice.
Because we're going June 21st.
I don't know what the
September
meteorological
21st,
summer
right?
is. Probably the 3 months of summer.
Yeah, I think it's June, July, August.
Okay.
And then fall. The meteorological fall is September, October, November, and then meteorological winter starts in December, I believe.
All right. Well, we are on Meteorological on the Mark right now, and we're talking about pensions. We have 3 emails pending. They're very short, so we'll sift through them. We got callers on the line. We we would invite more callers on this. Should we cut off water for people was the question that popped up. To that end, our most recent letter said water-starved California is implementing water control and conservation policies, in part less for lawns and more for farmers. Is it patriotic to turn in a neighbor who illegally wastes his or her waters his or her let me start that over. Is it patriotic to turn in a neighbor who is illegally watering his or her lawn around 3 in the morning? Golf courses may be limited in their water use as well.
A lot of recycled usage of water, and particularly California, Arizona, the arid climates of the United States, and on golf courses, even all over the country, they'll have water reuse
policies. Okay. And let's see. Hank Treslow sends us a note, says Mark Than's come up with another red herring. Pension reform would not violate any contracts that have been negotiated. All present participants would continue with their pension as it is now. New employees would have to have a 401k plan in place. Private industry has made this shift for its survival, and government entities must now do the same.
And private pensions are regulated quite a bit different than the government pensions. For private pensions are really scrutinized.
Okay. And finally, Than sends us a note, just a reminder, the word liberal or left-leaning does not mean wrong, just a different opinion.
Certainly.
Says Than. All right, Chris, thanks for calling in. You're on the mark.
Well, questions about the pensions in Detroit. Was Ben talking about taking a cut on their existing pensions when in the legislature?
Certainly adjustments to address their pensions in the legislature. They should be the start.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out whether it's legal or not, or whether if one person who is receiving the pension or sued, whether it would be overturned, because I'm not quite sure whether you're saying to cut the pensions people are already getting, for example.
Well, it needs to be looked at, but there should be adjustments.
Well, do you know
it could
if
be
it's legal or not?
It could.
That's all.
Well,
I don't know
no.
for sure,
I don't think it is. I don't think it would be a problem.
Whether that's true.
Well, I don't think there would be a problem. We just had an emailer who's somewhat of an. I put him in the expert category, particularly on pensions, which he states that there isn't a problem, a legality problem. But my point is the legislator should step up and make adjustments to their pensions, and then it can trickle down.
Well, I mean, if one of them sues, then if you're talking about past people or whatever, and it's not legal, then that's not going to do any good at all. But
okay. Well, you don't know if it is legal. I'm saying that I don't think there is a problem with legality, so we'll see.
That it isn't. But you know, I don't know what the paper's information was based on.
Okay.
So that's all.
All right.
And now about Detroit, yes, the Republicans are responsible to a certain degree. I'm not saying that Detroit's been well managed and it didn't have problems, but the thing that put them into bankruptcy in the huge amount where they qualified to be taken over by the state and have no representation at all in their own governance, which seems unconstitutional, but I guess that's legal too, is that the Republicans changed the allocation system for monies to communities when they got in office. And they were not on the verge of bankruptcy when that happened, but that forced them beyond the verge of bankruptcy.
But didn't Detroit...
And it was that change in the law that the Republicans made that did that.
Wasn't Granholm the Democratic governor? Wasn't she? She was the governor when Detroit declared bankruptcy, and then Mayor Dave Bing got elected and came in, and that's when the negotiations were going on. So Detroit's problems were far before the Republican governor took over.
But they weren't they weren't going to qualify for that takeover law.
I believe Granholm
and change of allotment of state monies to towns and cities got changed.
I have not seen that, but if that is, didn't that the bankruptcy discussions and when they were insolvent was under when Granholm was when she was the Democratic governor of Detroit. And again, Detroit's mismanagement over decades has not shown any chance for them to come out.
And one of the things that with the absolute power in the takeover cities, one city that was taken over, the guy was selling the public beach, which actually had been bequeathed to the city for all time, but he has absolute power and therefore could abrogate that situation. And he sold it to political contributors who formed a symposium to make the beach into a private golf course.
And that was in
Detroit.
Detroit?
That this good governance that these absolute power czars have been doing.
Not good. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Chris.
I guess time will tell.
And what pays your water bill if you don't pay? You said there were systems there?
To pay your water bill?
There's assistance. You can get government assistance to pay a number of your bills, and you can get reduced rates. You can get deferred payments. You could, basically, there's government assistance for food if you need it under the SNAP program now that used to be food stamps. So if you cannot pay your water or your heating bills, you can go to the government and look for assistance. But in what they're doing in Detroit and Michigan particularly is trying to play the race card that this is something, and the United Nations, bringing the United Nations in here is, very questionable, and it's far more political than it is reality.
All right, Paul, you're on the mark. Thanks for waiting. Go right ahead.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys a lawyer's question as if it was in a courtroom. And that is that according to the Constitution, no legal elected official can have his pay cut while he is serving. But his increase and decrease has to be based on the next administration. So why not have the same thing apply to their pensions? When they are no longer in office, they cannot collect more than what they had administered while they were serving.
Well, that's an idea worth considering. It certainly would have taken us out of this pickle. It would have been the next generation that would have created the same crisis. But it would have created the same crisis just later.
Okay.
Underfunded pensions, ballooning, that's the issue, is these ballooning underfunded. Unless, of course, in addition to this one-generation delay, there was also some sort of a mandate that Harrisburg had to pay their fair share, school districts had to pay in advance also.
All right. Now, here is the lawyer's question that is always applied to in a court of law, and that is it possible that any local, state, or nation can support itself without taxes? Can they?
Wait, can any state or nation? Well, there's municipalities that don't. There's certainly states that don't use taxes. They use different other fees. You mean what are the alternative ways to get money if not from a tax or a fee or some sort of a tariff or something?
Well, not necessarily in that way, Mark, because what people are looking for towards the government is service. And the government feels that the service cannot be provided unless they have money. And the only way they can get money is by putting on a tax. So if a tax is a burden to the people who want the service, then apparently the tax is a useless thing. Because when we left England, one of the things that we left for was because the king had the power to administer taxes without representation or without the consent of the people. And you have the same thing today. You have government applying taxes to the people without their consent, and because of that, they are burdened. And this is where independence, or the Declaration of Independence, came into play. And it was to let the people make their own decisions and not have it based on government or one individual person.
So what's the question?
The question is, can we survive without...
Well, how did we survive till 1913 without a federal income tax?
All right, how did we?
Well, we seem to. And that was private people doing what they needed. If you felt your town needed a library, you got together with some people and built it, or a hospital, and it was the private sector that drove the initiatives.
All right, 1-800-795-9565. We're talking taxes and pensions. What can be done? We'd love your viewpoint. One of our listeners sent us a clipping that relates to the United Nations and water rights in Detroit. So we're talking about, do you have a right to municipal water if you can't afford it? Is there any assistance to help you out? And what's going on in Detroit? And what does it relate to the public domain as we're talking about pensions in Pennsylvania? Really relates to government and entitlements and how much money is needed in a municipality, and what if there is no taxes. 1-800-795-9565 is our telephone number. We'd love to hear from you. 1-800-795-9565. That's the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. Lenape Solar email in basket populated by messages that were sent to onthemark@WKOK.com. We will be...
Attention, breaking news. It's the final days of the Jack Williams Tire and Auto Service Center's biggest tire sale of the year. Celebrate unheard of savings on top brand name tires. Buy 3 select Continental or General tires and get the 4th tire free. Plus get an additional $50 prepaid Visa gift card on select General tires. That's an unprecedented total of $100 plus in savings. Right now, only at Jack Williams Tire and Auto Service Centers. But hurry, it absolutely ends July 8th. Online at jackwilliams.com. Wait until you hear this. Now through July 8th only, it's Jack Williams Tire and Auto Service Center's biggest sales event ever. Purchase 3 select Continental or General tires and get the 4th tire free. Plus, receive additional unheard of savings with a $50 Visa gift card on select General tires. That's 1 free tire plus a $50 Visa gift card. Get name brand top rated tires at unheard of prices now until July 8th. Only at PA's top value tire dealer, Jack Williams Tire. Online at jackwilliams.com.
From a backyard blowout barbecue to a black tie event, Chestnut Street Deli is your custom caterer. Class reunions, weddings, business meetings, brunches, birthday parties, anniversaries. You get the idea. No matter the event, Chestnut Street Deli can cater it. They customize your food items to your events from their huge menu, which includes their homemade desserts, or pick up a party tray. And if you need a place to rent the deli. Chestnut Street Deli, 550 Chestnut Street, Sunbury. They cater to you. Call 988-2230. Like them on Facebook.
For more than 3 years now, Radio PA and PAMatters.com have brought you exclusive monthly conversations with Governor Tom Corbett. It's your chance to have the Governor of Pennsylvania answer your questions and comments on the issues affecting you.
The state has had a very difficult time as a legislature to come up with the resolve to deal with this head on. I said when I ran the first time, I'm going to make the tough decisions, and that's what people want you to make.
Let us answer your question on our next Ask the Governor program. Go to PAMatters.com today and click on the Ask the Governor link at the top of the page.
Important pieces of legislation that play into the budget, not the least of which is the pension issue.
PAMatters.com is also home to exclusive video clips from Ask the Governor, a show honored as Best Public Affairs and Best Talk Show by the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters and the PA Associated Press Broadcasters Association.
I'm Governor Tom Corbett. Please join me on Radio PA and PAMatters.com for a discussion on the issues facing our Commonwealth. Submit your questions or comment today.
Ask the Governor on PAMatters.com.
Ooh, good music. 1-800-795-9565 is our telephone number. 1-800-795-9565. We'd love to hear from you. We're talking public pensions and shutting off water to poor people in order to hurt them. Harry, you are on the mark. Thanks for checking in.
Hey, good morning, guys. I was away last week, so I followed the budget process from North Carolina. But I was intrigued with the fact that I think there's a very, very simple way to help with the pension crisis, and nobody brings it up, and I know no legislator will. But the simplest way to take care of that is if you put every legislator on a term limit with no more than 2 terms and remove them from the pension system, you will take care of the largest outpouring of money being paid out from those pensions. You look at legislature, the members of the legislature are getting probably, many of them are getting $100,000 to $150,000 a year in pension, where the average state worker who's in those same programs is going to get probably about $40,000 to $45,000. So right away, you would take care of a large portion of that money. That's just a way to start it anyhow.
Well, and you have some local leaders like Fred Keller, who's smart enough to volunteer to stay out of the pension system. He turns that money back in.
Well, is he staying out of the pension system, or is he just not taking a raise? And I'm asking because I don't know.
Both.
The reason I ask is I know for a fact that when they had their 3 a.m. raise that time, you've had many of them say, well, I don't take that money, but their pension is based on what the salary is. So whatever they do with that money now, down the road, the pension gets paid on what their salary was.
Right. Right, yeah, and so that'll apply to John Gordner. He doesn't take the raises, and Linda Schlegel-Culver's not taking raises, and I believe Kurt Mosser is taking his, so that will contribute. I mean, he'll get to spend the money now, plus it adds to the pension. But right, you're right. It does. It shows that their salary is X number of dollars, even though they turn some back in.
Right.
So, okay.
But I think if you put the term limits on and take them out of the system, that's a way to start.
Well, Harry, why is it a requirement that a company or a government pay a pension for somebody?
I don't know. I can't answer that. That's for far better minds.
That's
than
out of
mine.
your pay grade. Okay. Thank you very much.
I do think it was. I think it just started as a way to retain
it did.
strong employees.
An incentive.
And to give them an incentive to stay with you for years.
Yeah, base compensation was lower to a degree, of course, than it is today in the past. And the pension system was the promise of when you retire, you do your public service here, you work, you retire, you'll be taken care of. So now, how do we juggle that to be able to take care of and also be able to grow here in the future? But the base compensation has also increased quite a bit. But the legislators would be great to start in some way the pension reform and be an example of pension reform.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You were going to say one more thing?
Well, I think too what's important is that when the Senate came up with their thing with we'll just remove all legislators from the pension. That was just a ceremonial thing. I mean, it would be something that would be worth looking into, but you can't just say, we won't do it right now with no other way to. It just seems that so many times stuff that comes out of our legislature is doesn't have any substance. It's just a way to be a soundbite, and I think that's what that started with too. That was just ceremonial. They didn't have any way to fund anything. It was just a way. Oh no, we'll come out of it. Well, you can't. It doesn't work that way either.
Right. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah, 20 and 30 years ago. Now we're paying for it. Thank you, Harry. Appreciate the call. 1-800-795-9565. We'll take the last break of the day. And then we will return and we will read a couple of new letters that relate to the water shutoffs in Detroit. We will be right back.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Here's something to think about. How do you know if your insurance is the right price? Have you ever had your insurance reviewed? Do you remember when it was reviewed? And are you getting all the discounts you deserve? Let Groninger Insurance Agency give you a free, no-obligation second opinion on your auto, home, or business insurance. Give the Groninger Insurance Agency a call today at 570-473-8107. They're proud to represent the Erie Insurance Group. It's true, if you're not insured by Groninger Insurance, you're probably paying too much.
Appliances don't always keep humming along. Sometimes the washer won't spin, or the dishwasher stops mid-cycle. What do you do? Visit APW Sunbury. They carry all kinds of parts from small to large for every name and type of appliance. If you don't see it in stock, Jerry will gladly order it for you. Save money and fix it yourself with APW in the Peters Appliance Building on Market Street, Sunbury. Show those appliances who's boss, because you're always covered with parts from APW.
Have you ever had a job that nurtures your soul? At Homestead Senior Care, we know it takes a special person, not a special degree, to be a caregiver. If you are this type of caring person, consider joining us at Homestead Senior Care. We assist seniors with personal care, cooking, light housekeeping, and errands. All easy tasks for you, but so helpful to seniors. Call Tammy or me, Beverly, at 522-6533. We would be happy to talk with you about becoming a Homestead Senior Care caregiver. To us, it's personal.
1-800-795-9565. How do you know when Ben's not quite ready? I am Mark Lawrence, host of the show. I don't do a very good job. Kevin Hurd does a fantastic job as the engineer and producer for the program. He's won a lot of awards and is known intergalactically as the greatest producer ever. Ben Reichley is across from me, Republican committee person, resident of Snyder County, father of a woman who talks all the time, Olivia. So,
does she?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's probably true. I'm speculating 10, right? 10?
11.
11, okay, yeah, time's marching on. So 11-year-old Olivia going to grow up to be the fourth smartest woman in the world, I hope.
Good that she talks instead of texting.
Well,
we'll see what happens when she gets an iPhone, maybe at 13 or 14.
Okay. Are you talking to her now?
I'm hoping.
I was just going to say, what is the appropriate age for a...
13's too late, that's for sure.
No.
No. A basic phone, what's the appropriate age for a basic phone? What's the appropriate age for a...
10.
Smartphone.
10 and 12 each.
Oof.
And that's Lawrence's.
My kid doesn't even have a smartphone, and he's 15.
Well,
good for him.
He doesn't have a part-time job either. So
I was going to say, that's the other problem. When you don't work, you don't get the data either.
So, all right, well, that's just Lawrence's hard line on that. Let's see.
That's
Topic.
Good. That's not bad.
Thank you.
Which one we want to go to here? Left?
We read them in the order in which they arose, which means 947 trumps 937. So that puts Caitlin on the radio with this note. It says, it's interesting that Occupy Wall Street people are using their network to get water to people in Detroit. They used it to come to the aid of people on the Jersey Shore and Staten Island to recover from Sandy, and the news does not cover it when Occupy Wall Street helps these people. But the Tea Party people are using their resources to organize groups to walk around Target with machine guns and to go to Texas and California to shout at busloads of 10-year-old refugees, and that's on every network news show.
Interesting. Two points here, especially when left-leaning folks or liberal folks or progressive people.
Or bad people.
Well, no, I didn't say that at all.
No, I said
the Tea Party. The Tea Party is a generic term used by the left to then forego that these people are. What happened in Marietta, Georgia was not Tea Party.
That's where they're shouting at the busloads.
Yeah, it wasn't Republicans. It wasn't Democrats. It was the citizens of Marietta. It was their mayor saying that we do not have the resources to take on all these folks. So it's not the Tea Party. And the point about Occupy Wall Street is using their network to get water to the people of Detroit, and it's not being covered on the news. Well, holy smokes, the left-leaning progressive media outlets would be covering that hand over fist. I mean, they'd fall over each other to get there to show that. So the left certainly has far more media savvy and understanding than the right does. The right's somewhat hamstrung when it comes to media, but I will say this, it seems strange that the left would not be covering that. And the Occupy Wall Street group, if they're still around, what form are they in? Are they in public service now, or are they doing that? And that certainly should be covered by the media on those regards, if they're doing good deeds for the citizens of the United States.
Right, 1-800-795-95. Well, it just got coverage on this station, so that much is good. 1-800-795-9565. Speedy dialers only at this point. Let's see. Caitlin sends us another note. Says the water shutoff program in Detroit seems to be only for poor people. If you are a single mother working a couple of part-time jobs and you owe $150, Detroit is shutting off the water.
No, they're not. They're not shutting off your water. They're shutting off your water if you're not paying over a period of time. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're, who you are and that. It should be consistent. Now, the rest of the email does show some inconsistencies, potentially. But if you're not paying your bill and you get notices, then they're shutting off the water.
All right, but if you're Mike Ilitch, founder of the Little Caesars pizza chain, you owe $80,000 in overdue water bills for his hockey arena. No big deal.
Yeah, it should be.
Also, the Palmer Park Golf Club owes $200,000. Ford Field owes $55,000. Why aren't they threatened with shutoff, says Caitlin?
And they all should be, and they all should be noticed, and you don't know the circumstances. But if you go back to the United Nations article, when they talked about, I think in the second paragraph, it talks about disconnections are due to non-payment are permissible to the people who show that they can pay for the water. So like I said, this is a pretty political issue, and even the United Nations person's talking about that Detroit is shutting off water for non-payment for people who show they can pay.
All right, and what we're talking about is a clipping that was sent to us. Says 3 UN experts on the human rights to water and sanitation, adequate housing, and extreme poverty and human rights expressed concern Wednesday about reports of widespread water disconnections in the U.S. city of Detroit of households unable to pay their water bills. Quote, disconnection of water services because of a failure to pay due to lack of means constitutes a violation of the human right to water and other international human rights, unquote, the experts say. And then, quote, disconnections due to non-payment are only permissible if it can be shown that the resident is able to pay but is not paying. In other words, when there is a genuine inability to pay, human rights simply forbids disconnections, said Katerina de Albuquerque, an expert on the human right to water and sanitation.
Yeah. And the part I saw last week on Detroit was they were disconnecting where people were refusing to pay over a period of times, and the report came back then when they were threatened or disconnected, when it was the last 11th hour, 12th hour, or they were disconnected, then people came and paid their bill and got reconnected. As far as the hockey arena, some of these other areas, if they're not paying, then they should be under the same scrutiny.
All right, 1-800-795-9565 has been our toll-free line throughout the show. It is the it is the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. We thank you for dialing it. Speedy dialers could get through now, I suppose. Ben, have a good week. Are we going to see you on Friday?
I believe so.
Okay, good. We'll see you Friday, and Than will be in. We'll put one of you on Catbird, and I'll head up to State College for the Arts Festival. So I'll buy you.
Oh, it's the Art Festival week in State College.
Yep,
good.
I'll buy
which has grown immensely.
All right, I'll buy a big wood salad bowl or something while I'm up there. So
with the amenities that go with
for the you have to have the wooden
the bowls,
tongs
and
spoon and so on. Not for decoration. This is for real use. The webcam has been up and running. It serves as a 24-hour archive right on the homepage, but you can also go to WKOK's YouTube page if you'd like to subscribe to that, and they'll let you know whenever they update it with a new video. We got a video on the brand new Life Flight helicopter. If you had $7.5 million, Ben, you could have your own helicopter too. So that's going to be popping up shortly. So the webcam is up and running. So is our YouTube channel. On Your Mark, brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, family-owned dealership since 1915, 4th Street, Sunbury, and routes 11 and 15 Hummels. We'll have tons about them at sunburymotors.com. Lenape Solar email in basket open. Email on the mark at WKOK.com. We'll read your email on the radio. Lenape 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. They keep saying the same thing over and over again. Do you know if you can harness the power of the sun for a brighter tomorrow?
Yeah, and thank the emailers and the callers for some interesting information today.
And they got in on the Groninger Insurance toll-free line. Groninger Insurance, full-service agency, always asking that question. Do you think your insurance is at the right price? Well, let them give you a second opinion. If you got another insurance company, they'll get you squared away with less expensive insurance and higher value. Thank you for coming in, sir. Thank you, Kevin, for being the greatest engineer in the planet. We'll see you at 3 o'clock. Jazz Diminick going to be once again the subject of a conversation. This is WKOK Sunbury.